long shot. Jackpot, 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 jackpot. Riding around the block, shooting those shots.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy Showtime Such, and we are here with another tier list video, man. I know how much you guys love seeing these videos, so I had to bring another one out for you. And today, we have the middleweight tier list. And for the longest time, I was holding off making this weight class because, it was so one-sided. But, the new additions, a couple upgrades, I think it's a little more compelling than it used to be. So I decided to go ahead and make this video. If you guys don't already know, here's how the tier list works. Obviously S tier, it's OP. Very few characters ever going to get the S tier category. That means they are basically unstoppable if used correctly. F tier, there's people I don't mention. They're not even, they're not worth mentioning, not competitively viable. But starting off here is Kevin Gastelum. Kevin Gastelum's one of those guys who's gotten a little, when the game came out, he was a pretty solid pick. But, as he's lost a couple fights since the game came out, he's been getting a little worse. I will still say, though, he's a good boxer. His kicks, not really where you want him to be. I will say his wrestling is normally a strong suit, but a 90 takedown is not fantastic. I mean, for the weight class here, because middleweight is such a, wrestling-deprived weight class, I will say, you can use him as a wrestler. And the best thing about him is going to be his health stats, man. 95 chin, 90 body, 93 legs. Very durable guy. But, if you get caught out in the open, and obviously, or also, I'll say his movement is not the best. So, not a guy I'd recommend, but he is somewhat usable. There he goes, falls a D tier on the tier list. Moving on, though, Lyoto Machida. And I'm very excited to talk about this guy because he got an upgrade recently, and he's honestly a very fun fighter to use. If you have not used him since the newest update, or I believe it was about 2 updates ago where they upgraded his boxing and his kicking a lot, he's a super fun guy to use. He's an interesting play style where you kind of get in and get out. The reason I say that, 88 blocking, 89 head movement. You're not going to be sitting in the pocket with this guy. You can't be in the pocket. But his strikes are so good, you want to do your damage on the feet. So what I say is, get in there, throw your combination, and then you need to retreat. Now, his stats work very well to do this because, as I said, the blocking head movement is not very good, but 96 footwork is better than almost everyone you'll see in this game. So he's able to get in the pocket and get out before he gets touched. If you use him like that, you'll have a lot of success with this guy. However, outside of those, great 94, 94, 96 boxing, 96, 95 kicks, outside of that, the ground game is terrible with him, and his health stats are not great. 90 chin, 90 body, 88 legs, that's not something to write home about. 91 cardio is decent, but overall, on the feet, very fun fighter to use. I'd recommend trying him out, but competitively, he's not really there. So for that reason, he falls into D tier. And moving on, Marvin Vettori, this is a guy who's a lot better in real life than he is in the game. I will say the one thing to the game's credit that they get right about him is that chin, man. 98 chin. I mean, we saw him fight Paulo Costa. That man went through the hardest shots I've ever seen anyone eat before. Outside that, also 95 cardio. So this guy is a health beast. He's got all the great health stats. And on top of that, like I said, the wrestling, he's one of the few guys in this weight class that can wrestle at an above average level. Now, 90 takedown isn't great. 94 top control is good, and the 90 subs gives you an option. A lot of the guys that do have great wrestling, they either have, a lot of times, on no sub game. So it's nice to see 90 subs. You're able to go for some of those, maybe sprawl guillotines or the side control Kimuras, something like that. Now, in the striking department, he's not great. I would try and get the fight to the ground. 93 speed, 90 power, 91 accuracy. Those are decent stats. The kicks aren't really there. I'd say the biggest issue with Vettori, I feel like, is getting damage off. Whenever I've used Marvin Vettori in the past, I've had a hard time just damaging my opponent. Well, the stats are okay. At the end of the day, if you're trying to knock someone out, I would not pick Vettori, and for that reason, he falls into D tier. Now, moving on, Nick Diaz. And as you see, my description for him is the best performing, low-rated player in the game. Now, what I mean by that is if you look at his stats look terrible. Now, off the bat, we got 90 punch speed, which was nerfed. It used to be 93, so it used to be a lot better. But now it's 90 punch speed, 87 power, 92 accuracy. That's not good. I'll be honest. The 94 blocking is good, and then his kicks suck, even though he does have access to some of the higher level kicks, like the spinning heel kick that people like to abuse in this game. I believe he's got a question mark kick, but the rating itself are not good. So, and then, his ground game, it does look pretty good. 94 sub offense, 97 sub defense, and the 92 bottom control make it so if you get taken down, you're very likely to get back up. However, he doesn't have much to offer on top. And, what is Nick Diaz known for other than his health, man? The 96 cardio, 95 chin is very good. However, you have to worry about the low block. The 88 body and 87 legs, something to worry about. But as I was saying, despite these stats looking terrible, I believe He's a 3.5 star in the game. He might have just been upgraded to a 4 star after he lost to Lawler. I'm not sure how that worked out, but if you look at the stats, he's not good. But I would, he's fun to try out with. Some people really like him. Obviously, he has that very deadly, 1-2, very snappy on him. Just the cross in general is very good for him. So I'm looking to using him, but based on his stats, I can't recommend him to be used in a competitive environment. And however, he is the first person to lock in the C tier, just because a lot of people can use him well. A lot of people do have the ability to go out there with Nick Diaz and win some fights. So I put him in C tier for that reason. Now, next up is Kevin Holland. And I call him the baby Adesanya because everything you can think about Adesanya, the kicks are there, the striking speed's there, the movement's there. It's just he doesn't really, I'll say honestly, he doesn't really have the kicks like variety. Adesanya has tornado kicks, question mark kicks, spinning heel kicks, but he's got everything you'd want. Kevin Holland doesn't really have that. I think he has a sidekick and that's it. However, his boxing, very high level. He's got the long arms. That's also why I compare him to Adesanya. I believe his reach is actually 1 inch longer. However, I will say that can go against you too. That's something like if you get too close in the pocket, you don't put all of your power into the shots. It sounds stupid, but if you play the game, you know what I'm talking about. However, outside of that, I do think he's usable. His ground game is pretty solid, 90 sub attack, 94 sub D, and his control is 89, which would not be good normally, but for the middleweights, it gets the job done. His health is also pretty solid. As you see, 94 chin, 90 body, 91 legs, and the 92 cardio, so can't really knock him there. So overall, I think he's a decent fighter. Definitely someone you can use. I just think there's better options in the weight class. So that is why he comes in at C tier. Now, Michael Bisping. I'm going to get a lot of hate for this. He's a 5-star fighter in this game, and I have no clue how that works. This proves you that 5 stars are propaganda. It is nothing factual based about it. Because if you look at his stats, he was some of the worst stats I've ever seen. 4 stars have better stats than this. His boxing, all right, 93 speed, 90 power, 94 accuracy. That's similar to Vettori. His footwork's good. His kicks suck, right? So he's got similar striking to Vettori. He's terrible at grappling. I'll say that. Like I said Holland was decent at 89. But 88, he also has bad subs. 85 sub offense, 89 sub defense. So his grappling sucks. And the only thing he's got going for him is his cardio. So good, you can run around the octagon and get punched in the face a little bit more. But I just don't think he's a good fighter. Also, his kicks, he doesn't have high-level kicks. He doesn't have high-level strikes in general. Some people, by the grace of God, think he's great and think he's good and they can do all this stuff with him. Me personally, I've never liked Bisping in this game, and I don't think I ever will. His stats are terrible. He's a 5-star for no reason. I'll say that much. I think Bisping's trash. And however, some people like him and they get it done. Whatever. C tier for Bisping. Now, moving on. I'd never ever see anyone fight with Yoel Romero. And I understand why, but it still pains me, man. Yoel Romero is a monster in that octagon. And he's good in the game. Like the boxing we're talking about here, 92 speed, 97 power, very good. The 88 accuracy does hurt him a little bit. He's also got 98 blocking. So if you're one of those guys that doesn't have good head movement, that just likes to put on heavy pressure and walk forward, 98 blocking is fantastic. His kicks are good. His takedowns are good. His control time's good. His health stats are amazing. 95 chin, 95 body, 96 legs. The only thing that goes against him is his cardio. He has 88 cardio, and he also does not have out the gates. Now, for a lot of fighters that have low cardio, they have out the gates, you can get away with it because it gives you increased cardio for the first 2 rounds, which is mainly where most fights take place. So he'll get away with it. I'll be honest, Yoel Romero has a very short gas tank. That's the biggest issue with him. But if you can get out there and have a dominant first round, drain your opponent down, it doesn't matter. If they're more tired than you, you can still get the job done. So I think Yoel Romero is a great fighter, very underrated. But he falls into the very top of C tier. I'll be honest, low B tier. The reason I don't put him there is because obviously I look at the community. Not many people use Yoel Romero, so I drop him down a little bit for that. But honestly, he could be right up there with the low B tier or high C tier is what I have him at. Now, moving on, one of the scariest guys in the UFC, Khamzat Chimaev. As we do know, he just came off a big win versus Gilbert Burns. And honestly, it looks like he's going to be fighting for the title next, depending on how everything plays out. But when it comes to the UFC, I will say he's one of the most usable wrestlers in this weight class. Now, his boxing, we'll start with the boxing, 90 speed, 93 power, 89 accuracy. It's all right. Not something I'd recommend you go out there and try and strike with Izzy. But when it comes to his grappling, man, 94 takedowns, pretty high, 94 top control, and 94 subs as well. So he's got all three. He can take you down, hold you there, and submit you. So if that's something you're looking to do, if you know how to work the ground game in this game, I would 100% recommend Khamzat Chimaev. Now, where we worry a little bit, 92 chin's good, but the same thing with Nick Diaz, where you have the low body and the low legs. That can be targeted very easily by your opponents. And, if you get weak legs or a weak body, it can drain your cardio, drain your movement, and you're going to be out there looking like... I can't remember the fight that happened very recently. You're going to be looking like the guy that fought Blachowicz, man, when he's out there wobbling on the legs. I guess not a good example because he did kind of come back. But either way, you know what I mean. You don't want to have weak legs out there. It ruins everything for you. So that's where I worry. Other than that, like I said, striking works out. Grappling's fantastic. So Khamzat Chimaev is a very usable fighter, and he makes it into C tier. Now, Israel Adesanya, I might catch some flack for it because if you look at his stats, man, these stats are beautiful. They're some of the best stats I've seen in the game, maybe outside of Peter Yan and Volkanovski. And even then, his stats look better than both of those guys. I mean, 99 accuracy, the head movement, the speed, the power, everything looks great. But for some reason, it just doesn't come together in this game. The one thing I didn't show up was his grappling, but his grappling's still good. 91 bottom control and 90 sub D is better than most strikers in this game. But for some reason, it just doesn't come together. I don't know what it is. I've used him online, and I'm not going to say he's bad by any means, but it just doesn't it doesn't work like you'd expect it to, man. A guy with these stats should be dominating, and he just doesn't. My hypothesis is because of those long arms. When you're lengthy, and especially when you're using Adesanya, people want to press you. They get in your face. You can't really get the full snap on a lot of your strikes, and I think that takes away the power maybe. And then even then, a lot of his kicks are good. I will say using him, I do like using his kicks, but if you get some of the pressure boxes you or wrestles you, it's not a fun time. So, Israel Adesanya, very usable, but I put him at B tier, despite the great stats. Now, moving on is the guy that lost to Adesanya, Paulo Costa, man. Paulo Costa, I think the reason I put him above Adesanya is just because he's so much more usable in this game. There's a very high skill gap you must have to use Adesanya at a high level. Even for me, I'm an ESFL competitor. I've been in the mix for a while, and I still can't use him at a high level. Not many people use him in comp. So, but we're talking about Paulo Costa now. Paulo Costa, great boxing. You look at his stats and the very powerful kicks, 95 kick power, 95 punching power. So, he is a walking Terminator. He will knock you out if he catches you with something nice. His ground game, not bad. 91 top control, 88 bottom control, but the BJJ black belt is terrible at subs in this game. 84 sub offense, 89 sub defense. And going back to the striking, the 88 footwork and the 89 blocking is worrying, right? Because if you're trying to cut someone off the cage, footwork is very important. Having high footwork makes it so you can move faster and you don't let people escape as much. And the 89 blocking, because if you're running into strikes with your hands up, your block breaks faster, and you're going to accrue more damage. Now, moving on to health, his health stats look fantastic. 96 head, 96 body, 92 legs, and he's got the 92 cardio with a 96 recovery. So, I just read off all his health stats there, all in the high 90s. It's exactly what you want to see. So, overall, I think Paulo Costa is a great pick if you're someone that just wants to strike, throw some fists, and, get some knockouts. And for that reason, he comes into the middle of B tier. Now, Wanderlei Silva. Now, a lot of you guys probably don't use him in this game or don't look at him. If you look in the comp community, Wanderlei Silva gets used a solid amount. And the reason for that, I'll say, the boxing, like I said, is very on par with Costa's, where he has a 95 speed, 96 power. But he's also got these hooks. I don't know how to describe him. He punches with like a girl almost, like that. But it lands every time. It does so much damage when it lands. He's also got the lead overhand combo, the little straight lead over, if you like the cheese like that. If you look at his stats, he's another one of those guys that don't have great stats, but they just perform outside of the expectations. Inside the pocket, I'll say he's one of the most dangerous fighters you can go up against. But outside of that, his ground game is terrible, as Wanderlei Silva, his was. And the health stats are all right. I said, 92, 92, 91, and the 90 cardio. Nothing out there alarms me as being shockingly bad. 90 cardio isn't great. But, Wanderlei Silva just plays fantastic in this game. And that's the reason he comes in at B tier. Now, moving on, Jared Cannonier. Now, if you ever watched the ESFL, like I have in the background here, you'll know that Jared Cannonier is one of the most top-picked fighters in the middleweight division. And the reason for that is his power. Just as we're talking about Costa and Wanderlei Silva, this is one of those guys that has great power, but what he does a little bit better is his health stats and the kicks especially. His movement is a little bit better. I didn't put it on the screen, but it is more average. I think it's a 91, so he isn't hindered by that as much. But if we look at the straight boxing stats, 92 speed, 98 power, and 93 accuracy, along with the kicks, 93 kick speed, 95 kick power. Very dangerous across the board. And another reason people use him in the comp community, because although this ground control isn't great, which kind of sucks, 88 bottom control, he has 94 sub D. So if you get matched up with someone who's using a Khamzat Chimaev and is trying to submit you, at least you can survive, get to the next round, things of that nature. So it's not something you have to really worry about as much. And then, as I said earlier, 93 chin, 93 body, 94 legs. Fantastic. 92 cardio, also very good. So Jared Cannonier is a very top pick if you're a pressure boxer. I would say he is the best pressure boxer in the weight class. If you're looking to move forward, land powerful strikes, and do things of that nature, I would recommend Jared Cannonier. And for that reason, he lands himself at the top of B tier. And now another surprising pick here. If you look at Robbie Lawler's stats, I mean, the striking stats are pretty good. Even just looking at 94 speed, 93 power, 94 accuracy, along with a 96 blocking and head movement. For that reason, as I said, Jared Cannonier is the best pressure boxer. I think Robbie Lawler is the best pure boxer. If you're a guy that's looking to move your head, get the counter strikes, and just tag people with your hands, Robbie Lawler is the guy. And with saying that, his kicks also are not bad. 90 kick speed with a 93 power is pretty solid. You can get the job done there. But because of the great head movement, I'll say, and just the overall great striking stats, Robbie Lawler is a guy you'll see a lot in the comp community. Now, the weakness that he has that Cannonier does not is the ground game. The 84 bottom control is pretty poor, and the 88 sub D is also pretty bad. So you really just got to not get yourself in those situations if you're looking to use Robbie Lawler. But he has a very high ceiling, I'll say. Moving on to the health stats. His health stats are a little bit worse, more average, 91 chin, 90 body. However, he does have the 93 cardio and 96 recovery, so if you do get stunned, you're able to come back a little bit faster. So, I believe Zayev even won the title using Robbie Lawler, so that should say to the level that you can compete at when you're using a guy like him. And for that reason, he finds himself at A tier. Oh, I messed this up here. All right, Jared Cannonier was supposed to be A tier. I was a little confused there. I put Jared Cannonier at B tier originally, but he is an A tier fighter. Because I believe, Lawler and Cannonier, they have their strengths, have their weaknesses, so I can see a reason for using either one of them. And now, moving on, in my opinion, the greatest fighter that's ever stepped into the octagon, Anderson Silva. I'm so happy they gave him one of those legend cards, because using him as a 4-star was miserable. And he's another guy where the stats, it's not indicative of how he plays, I'll say. Because, the stats are good. Don't get me wrong. 98 speed, 93 power, 97 accuracy, 100 head movement, 97 footwork. You can read these stats just as well as I can. He plays a little bit worse than his stats would indicate, but I would still say he's a very dominant fighter. We look at the BJJ, obviously, he submitted Chael Sonnen with that legendary triangle choke. He's at 92 subs, 92 bottom control, so good things there. And his health stats, 96 chin. So you'd expect this guy, really just looking at the stats, to be one of the best fighters in the weight class all around, just because he has the great jiu-jitsu, he's got the great striking, great kicks, the great cardio, but there are fighters I think is better than him. So, for that reason, he falls into the top of A tier here, despite the great stats. I still think he's good, though. I'm kind of knocking him a little bit. Anderson Silva's great, fun to play with. He's an A tier, so he's a really good fighter. But there just happens to be two guys that I think are better than Anderson Silva. And the first one here, Alex Pereira, the new UFC champion of the middleweights. I think it's very easy. You can look at the stats and just see how dominant this guy is in the striking department. 96 speed, 99 punch power, 96 accuracy, 98 footwork. So this guy, you're not going to cut him. You're going to be cutting people off left and right. They're not going to be able to get away from you. As we saw in the Izzy fight, when Izzy was against that cage man, there was nowhere to run. He was stuck in the corner just because Pereira has got that great footwork. His kicks, 96 kick speed, 97 kick power. That is crazy. He has better kicks than Anderson Silva. It's really crazy. Now, he does have the weakness of grappling, but as I said, when you're playing in this middleweight weight class, you're going to be running up against Robbie Lawler's, Anderson Silva's, Jared Cannonier's. You're not really going to be running against a Khamzat Chimaev, and if you do, oh well, tough it up. And on top of that, he's got fantastic health stats. 97 chin, 93 body, 96 legs. This guy is insane. And his cardio is good too. 93 cardio. Now, we'll say, like I said, he has the same issue for whatever reason. His middleweight weight class, it seems to be a recurrent issue. Holland, Adesanya, and Silva to a less extent, but they all have this issue with reach where their arms are a little too long for the body, and you'll have a hard time dealing with pressure. But I will say Pereira's 99 punch power takes that away. So, he definitely has this problem the least out of out of all those guys. But it is still something to note that his arms are really long, and while you'll be better on the outside, when it gets to the inside, sometimes you only land like half power punches. So something to note. But he is still the top A tier, and to no one's surprise here, S tier is still the guy who's been on top since the game came out, and that's Robert Whittaker. He might just be the most dominant fighter in this game. I mean, since the game has dropped, Robert Whittaker has been the king of the middleweights, and he still is today. I mean, and the biggest reason for that is his boxing is great. I mean, his kicks are everything. There is no weakness with this guy. We're running through his stats here. 95 speed, 93 power, 94 excel. His footwork, 95. His kicks, 93, 94. And then when it comes to the grappling, he is on par with Hamzat Chimaev when it comes to his grappling. 92 takedowns, 92 top control, and he's got great sub D. I believe his sub offense isn't good. I think it's like in the 80s somewhere. So not going to be submitting people, but you can control him, take him down. His health stats very solid across the board. 91, 92, 92. Not quite as dominant as some of the other guys we've seen, but he has 98 recovery. So if you get stunned, you're getting right back to your feet recovered, and 95 cardio, man. This guy is the problem. And because he's so dominant, there's only one spot to put a guy like Robert Whittaker, and that is on top of the mountain in S tier. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that's all I got for you today. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Let me know if you want some more, man. I believe we have the heavyweights to do, the flyweights, and that might be it. I might look back at the welterweights. I made that video over 2 years ago, so it is a little dated. But outside of that, man, we're almost getting done with this tier list, man. So check out some of the other content. I got great UFC videos, some ESFL content. If you guys are interested, check it out, man. But other than that, I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace.